information, and if you want to come back to the exchanges, you can also listen, and you'll find it on our web channel, and that details will be sent to you. So Marwan, you make sure, I think I saw it flash up, but please
yes,
do so.
The record is started.
Good, thank you. If you would mind going to the next slide, please. I'm not going to take too long. You can see the next slot, my colleague Marwan and I will give you a quick update on Protect, what's happening, because this is just part of a bigger picture. And then we will have some insights from experts from the consortium. So very pleased that Ana Lucia from Corvus will give you insights into the work that we've been doing, the challenges, which is really important for you to understand what the challenges that have been validated by our potential public buyers. So Ana Lucia will zoom in on the 4 challenges. Note the word possible challenges. This is Protect. This is not the final PCP, which will be launched by the Commission. So it's very much an open process of gathering information from potential buyers that are reflected in these 4 challenges. Joanna from Aerospace Valley, who many of you have been in contact with in terms of preparing for today, and in some of the other activities are e-pitchers. So and she will take you through the details of the e-pitching setup and what you can expect next week. We've got some time at the end for open discussions, questions from you, and our job is to make sure you're all ready for next week, ready also to present your information. It's always challenging in the short amount of time that you will have for the e-pitching, so it's very important that you follow the guidelines that we are going to share with you today. So that's the sort of the setup for the rest of the morning. So thanks again for all of you for joining. If we want to move on, please.
So
my colleague Marwan will give you some information now about some of the details, so you understand where the e-pitching fits in with the Protect pre-commercial procurement support. Marwan.
Thank you, Mark. So good morning, everyone. So I'm going to tell you now more about the Protect project and the unique opportunities it offers to European municipalities, cities, and regions, and for sure to the providers to be part of it. So the Protect project combines 3 concepts: PCP, Earth observation, and climate services into one project and one objective to support the preparation of 19 million Horizon Europe PCP call that will open next month on the 17th of October. And this will represent the largest pre-commercial procurement ever funded by the European Commission. So you may ask yourself why the European Commission is investing so much in the PCP. So the PCP has the potential to reduce the fragmentation of the public demand, the public sector needs, and it helps to create a bridge between a more uniformed public demand and the market of Earth observation climate services. So here you have information about the the future BCP calls. The BCP call is a part of Cluster 6 of the Horizon Europe funding programs and aims to support innovative governance initiatives. The BCP calls will open on October 17th and it will close on the February 28th of 2024, and will be several activities organized, and some of them, the info days, were organized by the European Commission in order to shed light on the Cluster 6 calls. And this event will take place on the 27th and the 28th of September. And the European Commission will mention the Protect project and the Protect website as a main reference and source to prepare the applications to the PCP call. So just to mention again, so the goal of Protect is a project to support the preparation of the future candidate applications to the Horizon Europe pre-commercial procurement calls by working with the public demand from one side and the providers of Earth observation based on climate services solution. So for more information, I advise you to visit the Protect website, so you can have the links to to read more about the BCP call, as it's available on the funding and tender portal. So to move on, so as a result of the market gap analysis carried out during the first year of Protect project, which was based on different stakeholders consultation methods, tools, surveys, and several workshops with the public buyers and other representatives from the public authorities of the Protect community, 4 topic challenge related to climate change have been identified, and we have flood challenge, fire challenge, and water challenge, and infrastructure challenge. So we'll not go now in details on that. So we'll give the floor later on in the next few minutes for our colleagues from Corvus, Ana Lucia, to give you more explanation. So Protect brings together a community of procurers, other representatives from the public authorities as well companies, and to provide them with key information, knowledge, and capacity building activities, and support an innovation procurement approach for climate change services based on the Earth observation data. So for the public buyers side, we encourage them and we let them join us for the community platform by signing up to where they get access to the ever-expanding knowledge hub and innovation procurement and a more related information about the BCP, as well also by joining the Protect Buyers group for a specific challenge and also apply for free in-demand consulting services. So this is from the public buyers point of view, and from the providers, how they get involved. They get involved by filling out the surveys was distributed in the past few months, as well also by participating in the upcoming event, the e-pitching sessions, where they can present their solution in front of the public buyers, and also they can access to the relevant materials and documentation to learn more about the BCP call and have more knowledge about that. So now I give the floor again to Mark to give you update about the upcoming activities.
Thank you, Marwan. What you will hopefully have just appreciated is that on the Protect website and in the different events and activities that we're organizing, you should be able to find all the information you need to participate in the future call that the European Commission is launching. We are distinct in Protect. Our job is to facilitate the preparation, but we are not linked, obviously, to the European funding call itself, because that would be an independent and openly evaluated process. As Marwan said, there are info days for the whole of that program. We heard last Friday that the particular call that we're looking to support you with will be organized on the 28th, so the second day. That full details will be put on our website when the link is available. What we try and show on this slide are the sort of preparatory activities that are all linked. Earlier this week, we've had what we call the pain point workshops, which were discussions with the potential buyers, public buyers, the agencies, their networks, around those 4 challenges that Marwan highlighted. So you saw water, fire, etc. So that took place at the beginning. We are now in the process of preparing the e-pitching sessions for next week. That's why you're here, hopefully. And we will take you through the steps to make sure you are fully aligned with the available time, the process, to best present your opportunities, your technologies to potential buyers. We've had some other earlier, let's say, dry runs of e-pitching. Some of you may have attended the ERSC funded event earlier this year, where we had a nice session with 5 SMEs sharing their future technologies. But so this will be formalized in the e-pitching next week. We have follow-up with training sessions on 19th to 29th, different solutions. And then really a quite important stage in our project on the 15th and 16th of November, we will organize what we call here the open market consultations. So there'll be one for each of the 4 challenges, if all the 4 challenges remain structured, because that's part of the process we're going through now. And then, that has to have a timeline aligned with the European call, that details of which Marwan has just given you. So that's all we wanted to say in terms of the Protect introduction. Now I'd like to hand the floor to Ana Lucia. So Marwan, you can give the slides, and Ana Lucia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mark. Marwan, will you be clicking the slides?
Yes.
Because I have a little bit of animation in the slides, so you need to click. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Ana Lucia Jaramillo. I'm part of the legal team of Corvus Procurement Services. We're specialized in innovation procurement, and we are supporting partner in the Protect project. Today, I would like to give a brief introduction about the challenges and how we came up to these challenges, and we will go a little bit more in depth into challenge 1 on the floods, challenge 2 fire, challenge 3 water, challenge 4 infrastructure, and we'll share with you the next steps. So let's go to the first part, the introduction on how the challenge came about. So we go to the introduction, and I'd like to let you know that the 4 challenges are the result of different activities held in the context of Protect. We have been in consultation with the public buyers, and we had several workshops with them in order to define the common needs and to scope those needs based on what is, in their case, a pain point or a problem they have that is relevant for the institution and that causes important cost and has an impact in climate change in relation to the climate services and earth observation. So what we have done in these workshops, and as a result of that, is to state the problem, think about a desired solution or this desired let's say, wish, desired state, dream state, let's say, if they could have even a magic one and they could ask for something that they would like to have within their organizations to tackle their needs. We have some use cases and also functionalities that have been described. It's also important to let you know that the state-of-the-art analysis that includes the market analysis, that the patent and standard search is ongoing. So this e-pitching is going to contribute to that market analysis to see what is possible, what the market can offer, whether there are some solutions already available that could tackle those challenges and could be already implemented. So we need to know that to see which paths we take in regard to the different challenges. So next slide, please. Let's go now to the challenges themselves on floods, fire, water, and infrastructure. So next slide. So the floods challenge is related to the rapid mapping and prediction. So the problem that has been stated by the contracting authorities, the public buyers, is that the mapping of flooded areas is a process that takes too long. There are too many delays that can take weeks, especially when there are severe events, and this results in delays of response and also is difficult to prevent. At the moment, they think, the organizations think that they lack reliable tools for predicting, for preventing, and responding to such events in a timely manner. So these are the functions: predicting, preventing, responding. So how do they see the desired outcome, the functionalities, like the dream situation in the future, is that they would have a system for rapid mapping that enables predictions and projections to identify risks and define benchmarks based also on the past activities, past events. So they would like to have flood risk intelligence, looking for high resolution data at building level, and also use past real-time and future climate change scenarios. So they're looking at before flood maps, early warning, after flood maps, post-event analysis, and also be ready for in terms of climate adaptations using flood maps. So next, please. So here are some of the slides also shared during the pain point workshops on how is important and that is key to have a flood risk intelligence and use the different scenarios to understand better what could happen, what has happened, and to prepare better. Next, please. You see, you just can go a little bit faster. So here, for example, before the flood maps, so such an early warning, this would be useful to support emergency operations, to support also, for example, the moment of displacement of people at high risk, or to put in place rapid mitigation measures. the need for rapid mapping tools. Would like to have scenarios, both in the scenarios related to the river or the sea, and have, of course, the high resolution data. Next, please. In the afterflood mappings, with the use of satellite information from Copernicus or Cosmo, the idea is to have a post-event analysis to understand what has happened after the flood and to assess the damage building by building. Next slide, please. So in the case of Be Ready, and so to be ready for climate adaptation, is important to support land use planning and adaptation and also strategies in the cities, identifying the hotspots, for example, where risk may happen, and support also the localization and the designing mitigation measures, for example, related to physical barriers, nature-based solutions, etc. Next slide, please. So that what has been mentioned is that the current gaps and innovation needs are the high resolution. There are gaps in terms of the resolution of data. There's also lack of flood data and risk maps, or uneven coverage at global level, or parametric insurance is not possible. Complex tools for selected experts perhaps the tools are too complex, they take too much time, or they are CPU intensive solutions and only targeting highly skilled professionals. So it makes it difficult and not accessible for all. And also there's a gap in terms of static view of flood risk. So it's not possible to stimulate a change in resilient city with adaptation and mitigation structures, or in the case of multi-hazard damages and climate scenarios. That would be necessary or interesting to have this type of climate scenarios. Next slide, please. So how do climate services look like in the floods? For example, some of the examples that have been mentioned in the workshop is the use of digital twins connected with Earth observation, climate and geospatial data integration, using cloud and API-based solutions to create fast algorithms for real-time mapping, have a specific routine for what scenarios, what changing climate, for example, resilient cities, and also the importance of have these user-friendly and tailored for non-expert to use these tools in hydrodynamic models. Next slide, please. So this is the next challenge, is about fire prediction, prevention, and tracing. These are the functionalities that have been identified. What is the problem? The problem that public authorities, the public buyers have mentioned is that there are several scenarios of fires initiated by different causes and having a harmful effect on the environment. One of the use cases relates to facilities that storage waste and that are prone to spontaneous fires. And even though there are data on previous fires event, there's historical data that tells you, for example, the type of moisture, the height of the piles of waste, or other, for example, temperature. That there are no specific or automatic solutions that are make it possible to predict the fires and make an informed decisions for prevention. This is especially interesting for those who control the environmental agencies, for example, that have to control industries or companies that have these landfills with garbage or other disposals. Another use case relates to the tracking and tracing of fire in the forest or in other landfills that result from illegal dumping of waste that has been intentionally caused or intentionally dumped there, and having the possibility, for example, to compare the fields or the waste piles before and after, and it's possible trace or track the responsible, whether this is a person, whether this is a company that has dumped the waste in water, for example, or dumped the waste in a specific landfill. So the desired outcome and functionalities that are those that the contracting authorities, the public buyers wish, is to have the automated notification system based on the processing data, including Copernicus data, that promptly identifies the risk of fire. This will help or allow the environmental agencies to take swift and appropriate measures, such as engaging qualified companies or industries with expertise in waste management to prevent and also to provide support, and also comparing, tracking, and tracing to identify criminal activity or criminal behavior. Next slide, please. So here you would see some slides presented by a public buyer, actually the leading this challenge with intention to act as lead procurer as well from VCMR from the Netherlands. And they said, what is the definition in this case of waste fires? That's uncontrolled fire in a waste storage. And this takes place many times a year, and these are some data in the Netherlands, Sweden, and Austria. So there are waste fires going beyond 77 times in the Netherlands, more than 60 times in Sweden, and more than 25 per year in Austria. Next slide, please. So this has an impact, both financial, social, and environmentally, because there's need to remediation of soil, there's problem with the water treatment, there are damages to building, there are loss of recyclables, and also, of course, there's problem with the health, with the odors, and the environmental costs are high also because there are a lot of discharge of pollutants and toxins, etc. So next slide, please. So yeah, in the case of waste fires, they see that there are different types. The recycle centers where garbage or waste is recycled, and the landfills. And normally the main causes are spontaneous ignition, and also there are other causes that are unknown, but one that has been spotted is the fire resulting for the combustion of lithium batteries. So next slide, please. So you can see how much in the pictures you can see the fires that take place. What are contributing factors that they already know? They have data already about that. Is the type of waste, the amount of the waste, the temperature, the moisture contents, the wind, and other remediating factors that are linked to the weather. So they want to use this data and combine this data in order to be able to react. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is the specific use case, is the prediction of waste fire using, in this case, thinking about some technologies, could be combining artificial intelligence, remote sensing, historical and weather data. Next slide, please. So this has been presented directly for the contracting authorities, some of the steps that they see and exploring. You know, they want to explore the boundaries of what is possible in this case, how they can aggregate data to perhaps develop models and scenarios for this fire, have this model trained on site validation, use it for predictions, and also finally implement the notifications. Next slide, please. We go now to the third challenge, and this is climate resilient water solutions. This is a challenge that water authorities, public buyers working in this sector have identified. The main problem is the unpredictability in the demand of fresh water, and there is lack of connection between the supply and demand of fresh water. There's also a lack of common languages among the different stakeholders and users, for example, the water companies, the industry, but also the farmers that are all of them involved in the water cycle chain. There are data available in certain regions, but there's also this lack of connectivity between data hubs and repositories. So there's also an important effort to be done to connect these and also to work in cooperation across Europe. So what is the desired outcome and the functionalities that have been defined until now is they want to have a predictable demand for fresh water. It's important also to take into account the regulatory landscape and the policies that are defined at national, local level, so that there's a cohesive framework for water management. So there are different. There's a legal framework, there's a regulatory framework, but in some cases it's also at a local level that needs to be understood. they want to have a system for effectively handling stress situations through data-driven decision-making and interventions, and also looking for supply and demand that is interconnected based on the needs of different users. So in the understanding the needs of the farmers, companies, industries, considering different conditions and the water quality requirements for the different purposes. So water quality for farmers perhaps is different than the quality they need for certain industries or companies. So this also needs to be well understood. And also important is to understand the consequences and a combined approach to the relevant data within the entire water cycle chain through effective policy guidance. Next slide, please. So what are some examples in this case? This was provided also during the workshops. They think about green gas emission indicators in the water management, in the case of droughts, in the case of excess of water, salinization risks due to the increase of drought and seepage pressure and by sea level rise, the insights also into water in the available sweet water storage in large lakes. For example, in the Netherlands, the IJsselmeer, that's relevant to the Dutch National Commission decision support. Also insights in the amount of local water storage and the saturation level in soils in times of extreme climate conditions in management areas to anticipate timely local flooding, for example. There have been some events, that's the case of Limburg in 2021. There was flooding, and also important is to have insights in drought conditions that's relevant for agriculture and nature, for irrigation limitations, including in some cases when there's ban limitations or ban for irrigations. And also transition and monitoring of the rural area and functions in the future. For example, the distribution of blue-gray infrastructure. So these are some of the things, and some of the contracting authorities already have a lot of data in this regard, already have some applications that could be used and help to plug in, let's say. Next slide, please. Here you see just a map of the regional national European infrastructure. These are 21 regions of Europe, as defined by river basins, climate and socioeconomics. This just to emphasizing the importance in this specific challenge to understand the relevance cross-border, no? Because all these rivers are connected. These bodies of water have an influence cross-border. Next slide, please. Yeah, here are just some links and some mention to the European National Water Monitoring that is already available. There's a lot of work being done by that, and you could just click on that. I'm not going to go too much in detail, but just to let you know that there are actions already in place in some cases. Next slide, please. The same thing here, just some examples that have been mentioned during the workshops on what is being done at the European level. And some instruments and some Dutch examples in that case that are working in this sector of water. Next slide, please. So some of the needs that have been mentioned in the water challenge and also linked to the cooperation on a European scale is the need for exchange of national information and knowledge between governments and business and market, the need for scaling, so embedding national regional scale into the framework of cooperation, and looking for interoperability, including standards, management, maintenance of archives, procurement and contracting. These are important things, and of course requires a national strategy and implementation that, can requires continuous monitoring as well. So this is something that has been shared by specifically the Dutch authorities who are leading the challenge on the water resilient solutions. Next slide, please. So now we go to the last challenge, that's sustainable and resilient infrastructure. So with the problem that has been stated is the need for integrated sustainable redevelopment, restoring and climate adaptation of existing neighborhoods, both in urban and rural areas. There's also a need to transition to renewable energy, and they mentioned the importance of thinking already to the future of 100 years, if possible, because when they're building infrastructure, this infrastructure is going to stay there for a long time and needs to be, for example, analyzed in different scenarios to see what are the best ways of building things, or of preparing for the future, also preparing for climate change. So the desired outcome and functionalities mentioned and identified in this challenge are the integrated solution using Earth observation data with regards to the redevelopment, restoration, and climate adaptation of neighborhoods, and to address and prevent, for example, heat island effects, flooding, droughts, water scarcity, both in neighborhoods and rural areas. What they would like to do is have this, for example, one of the applications would be the risk modeling based on scenarios foreseen in 100 years or more, for the buildings and also for restoring the existing buildings. Somebody mentioned also in the workshop yesterday the importance of whether it could be possible in the dream scenario to make use of these extreme weather conditions on rains or storms to actually generate energy. If we could do this type of modeling scenarios based on how we're building the cities and how this way of building the cities could result in this transition to energy, to renewable energy. And they would like to have a sort of solution that could be a plug-in to a digital twin. Next slide, please. So I'm a little bit, see here some use cases that we discussed specifically with the cities, the cities of Haarlem, the city of Helsinki. They discuss this possibility to understand the nature-based solutions to tackle flood risk in case of heavy rains, especially in surrounding critical infrastructure like railways, hospital, energy network. They mentioned specifically for the Finnish case that is different for other cases. Also, Portugal mentioned different needs related to the type of infrastructure they have, responding to the weather and climate conditions they have in the north of Europe or in the south of Europe. In the case of Finland, with the snow that sometimes it's a growing challenge for them, or related to heat mitigations and the local energy production and energy renovations they need to do. Next slide, please. So these are other use cases. I'm not going to go too much into this. This was also presented by Helsinki, Haarlem, on the importance of identifying the most critical sites. For example, having early warning alerts for public authorities, and having certain tools for urban development in the future and construction. And here's also a link. You can also look into that when you have the presentation. Next slide, please. So yeah, here are also some of the steps for sustainable infrastructure. That they want this effectiveness of measuring the climate adaptations and possible adaptations in the existing construction. Yeah, they want a service that combine different measures for different types of constructions. Haarlem mentioned yesterday, for example, that they do have very narrow streets, and they need they cannot put more trees there, so they need alternative solutions or ways in which this can be projected and improved. And they want to explore together these common limitations and possibilities. Next slide, please. So what are the next steps? Just very quickly, we're going to have these e-pitching sessions on 18 and 19 September. The public buyers have been invited as observers, so they are very interested to know if there are any solutions that could tackle some of the challenges, and whether these solutions could be already deployed or they need further adaptation. So they would like to know that in order to know which path is the correct one, whether we want research and development, and which challenge need more research and development for the pre-commercial procurement. But it could be possible that they could already purchase certain solutions that are closer to the market using the public procurement of innovative solutions approach. So there will be a PIN. The PIN is a prior information notice to announce an open market consultation. It's expected to be published on the 20th of September to invite all the potential providers to respond to a request of information questionnaire, but also to interact in the webinars that will take place on the 15th and 16th November. And with that, thank you very much. I think it's a little bit more time of my minutes. Apologize for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ana Lucia. I think it was important to share the information that we've gathered from real buyers. You know, this is not a theoretical exercise for the SMEs and businesses that are online. You know, you have been presented with information that comes from buyers who have real needs. They're not just here because they were forced to come and join us. They are real challenges that need technology solutions. So the other message I think for the providers online today is just quite a variety of business. Even within the challenges, there is still some scope for refinement, and that's part of the process that we will go through in, as and Lucy just said, the open market consultation is about refining, getting the fit between the technology providers, solutions, and your work and the real needs. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to influence and shape those future PCPs. So one last remark before we hand the floor to our colleague Joanna is, if you have any questions you'd like to ask, please use the chat, the conversation icon, and like that we can make sure we've got some answers ready for you at the end of this next presentation. So, Joanna, your floor is yours.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Ana Lucia. Thank you, Marwan. Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to finally see you, at least some of you. Now we're going to discuss about the objectives and organizations for the pitching sessions. So if we move to the next slide, please. Thank you. So just so you know, the objective of this pitching session is to complement or to enrich and validate the findings of the state-of-the-art analysis that our colleagues from Corvers, together with our support, is conducting right now. We are taking a look into patents, into TRL levels, and into codes as well, and everything like that. So all this state-of-the-art will also be used as inputs for the open market consultation. If that's not right, let me know. But just so you know, this is basically the objective of it. And the scope is for you to be able to present one or multiple solutions that are tackling any of the challenges, or even more than just one. As my colleague said, we discovered these challenges by talking with the public authorities. So you are more than welcome to present the solutions that you are having. The e-pitching sessions will happen on the 18th and on the 19th of September. We already have the time slot on the 18th is full. And on the 19th, we are trying to see how many registrations we have in the. Just so you know, there's also a possibility that instead of like having 2 pitching sessions on the 19th, it could be the case that we will have only one. So in case that you register like for the e-pitching session in the afternoon, you might receive information that it will happen in the morning. But all these information regarding who's pitching at what time and on which date will be sent out on the 15th, tomorrow at 5:30 in the afternoon. Because the registrations are open till 5 o'clock. So right after we will send out to you at what time slot you have the e-pitching session and everything like that. We want to ask everyone to join the meeting with 15 minutes before, because we will have to send you to different rooms. The idea is because we know that we ask for also sensitive information, most probably. So the idea is each provider will be able to pitch in front of our audience, but the other providers will have to stay in a separate room. So in case that you like to join and you are perfectly fine with everyone listening in details about your technology and everything, let us know and we will try to do our best. All right. When it comes to the participants, we will have the Protect Consortium as well, but we will also have the group of buyers as observers. So if there will be any kind of questions and everything like that, they will be via chat in order to make everything smoother. If we go to the next slide, please. Thank you. For the preparation of the e-pitching session, as you know, you have to register for on the Eventbrite in order to be able to receive all the links provided. But there's also a survey that has been prepared by our colleagues from Corvers, which I know it's another survey. I sent you a lot of surveys, but this one is also having different type of questions than the ones that you received before, because this survey is also helping out with the state-of-the-art analysis. We also sent you a PPT template, or you were able to see it in the Eventbrite description. So please try to follow the template that we provided to you. At the same time, I know that we received registrations from companies that have not been a part before in Protect. So if you want to be featured in the online catalog that we are having and everything like that, please just fill in the form which is linked to the mapping of the survey for the newcomers. And at the same time, if you want to be featured in the online catalog, we will need your approval, and as well in a public document that we're having. But you can always say no, it's no problem, it's nothing mandatory, nothing is linked to each other. Just so you know, we also have this possibility as well. We are not selecting anybody, so everyone is welcome to pitch their solutions, as long as they are somehow connected to the challenges that we are having. And if you want, you can also send the PPT templates beforehand. You can also receive feedbacks from our side, but it will also help us in order for the presentation that will be rolled on during the e-pitching sessions. At the same time, each provider will have 5 minutes to pitch about the services and the companies. And as I said, if you would like to join, if you'd like other providers to join your pitching session, you have to let us know. So we will be sure about it. Otherwise, due to possible sensitive information, we consider that it will be better for you, like to pitch not with all the other providers, but to pitch only in front of the audience. Yes, you can still send the PPTs, no problem. If we go to the next slide. Okay, so we received a couple of questions so far, and I took the liberty, I know that some of you recognize the questions, but I took the liberty to implement them here in order like for everyone to have the same answers, because I received some of the questions multiple times. So to whom we will pitch and what is the objective of these pitching sessions? I hope that now it's a bit clearer, and that if you have any other additional question regarding this part, let us know. I know that I read the 4 challenges, and my company services are to help the clients with the EU climate problems, like forecast. In the question is it possible to add different services in the 4 challenges mentioned in the previous emails? Well, the idea is it is possible, but it has to be connected to some extent to the 4 challenges. For example, as we are having the 4 challenge, which is focusing on multiple needs, as long as even if you have only one solution that is tackling only one part of the need, you can still pitch about it because it is considered to be a part of the challenge. Regarding the R&D, are working on research different than the 4 challenges? In that case, can I put what we are working on? Yes, absolutely, because we are interested in also seeing what is the focus from the market as well. And this could be a good info to have for our SOTA analysis. If we go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Do we have to use exactly this template layout, or could we use our own layout? Please, please, please use the PPT template that we provided, because due to the time limitations, we made a structure in such a way that you guys should fit in 5 minutes. Now, the question that we received from many of you, who will apply for the Horizon call? Who writes the proposal? How a consortium is formed? Will there probably be other proposals submitted by adequate similar initiatives like Protect? Well, the consortium that will be able to apply for the upcoming call is basically formed by the public authorities. The providers cannot apply in the part of the consortium. The idea is that after the consortium is formed, when the EC is giving the approval for whoever is winning the proposal and the call and everything like that, after that there will be an open call for the providers to submit their services. Please help me out, colleagues from Corvers, if I'm saying something wrong or if that's correct. And at the same time, yes, at the same time, the proposals can be submitted even from consortiums outside of this project, and also other initiatives, even like Protect or any other possible consortiums. So it does, as Mark said in the beginning, the proposal for the next call is not necessarily linked to Protect. The consortiums can be formed even outside of Protect. Now, if we go to the next slide, please. Thank you. What about the next steps where the providers could be involved and express their interests? Well, also my colleague Ana Lucia mentioned them, but just so you know, you can provide details about your climate services, and it can be featured in the online catalog where the public authorities are able to take a look at it and to get familiar with it. In the fall, we will have the open market consultation in November, where the suppliers will be asked to express their interest in pitching and also to provide feedback on the needs that we have mentioned. And we will have another set of training of webinars, which will start next week, and it will go till the end of September. And you can find more information about this on our website as well. And we will, yes, we are currently working on identifying what other kind of activities will be needed as well. So if we go to the next slide. Yes, we received a question regarding the form that has been connected to the registration for the event. And the question, it says that it was not very clear what we were referring with the technological requirements preconditions. So I asked my colleague Ana Lucia to answer to these questions. If you want to step in, Ana Lucia, you are more than welcome.
Thank you, Joanna. Yeah, this question was mainly to know if you have a solution, if there's any requirements that you would like public buyers to have. That means if you need to know the infrastructure, if you need to know if they're working with certain software or hardware, or they have certain data available or not. So mostly to know if you want to ask specific questions to the public buyers in terms of what could be necessary for you to implement solutions that you have. Hope that is clear. Regarding the time for deployment, the same thing in case you do have some solutions that the ones that you would be pitching for, if there's available to tackle one of the challenge, if you want to implement them in specific environment, in operational environment, how long it would take. Yeah, just to have an estimated knowledge of the time that it would require for you to implement those solutions. The same thing for the cost of the deployment, of the cost of installation. So just the estimates in case such a solution needs to be implemented in a specific public organization environment. Know if that's clear for you, or do you have any other questions? Just please let me know.
Yeah, I just interrupt. I can ask a question on behalf of Giedas, who put it in the chat. It's relevant to what you've just said, both of you. The question is, if service providers can't be part of the consortium, why are they pitching? I think all of us can give different answers. I'll give the process you see that we're having now is about helping buyers refine their the choice of the challenge, the focus of the challenge, based on the different technology that are available and the solutions that can be provided. So we are, you've seen from the Protect challenges, they're quite wide, and clearly the process of submitting a Horizon Europe bid needs to be much sharper, more focused. So they are actively looking for these discussions to enable them to shape the focus of their subsequent bid. So that is one reason why this process of e-pitching, introducing you to potential buyers is being done. So and Federica, you said notified when the cascade call will be out. Well, I think that is a step beyond us, because that will depend on the individual projects that are being delivered. But I see some colleagues want to respond also to the chat, so it's good. Stephen, I think you're, and Ana Lucia.
Thank you, Mark. What is important for in the process for the contracting authorities and public bodies to understand is, first of all, of course, what is already available on the market, and if some services or some technology solutions are already available on the market, there's no need for doing a PCP. Because PCP, pre-commercial procurement, is about the procurement of R&D services. We really would like to implement something that's beyond state of the art. So, and then of course it can be so that there are already services being provided that can tackle the current needs by existing services. If that's the case, that's fine, but then there's no need for PCP. So we really need to understand from demand perspective to understand where we can target beyond state-of-the-art solutions and services. So I think that's important information for the technology vendors to and the providers to understand. And of course, if you have something already planned in your roadmap, but you would like to see, okay, I'm already developing this at a lower TRL level, perhaps it is interesting, and yes, there's a latter need from contracting authorities there. Then it will be interesting also to understand that you say, okay, we're already working on this. We can expect that something is ready available. We can do something in the coming year or 2 years. And then the upcoming PCP can help you to not only to speed up these kind of developments, but also to have a relationship with public authorities, public bodies throughout Europe. because that will be the strength of the upcoming PCP, in which public bodies from different member states are working together for cross-border approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Very good points. And Lucia, you dropped your hand. Did you want to
Yes.
say anything more?
Yes, thank you, Mark. I think Stefan basically replied what I was about to say, you know, the importance, because the question was whether that providers will not participate in the public buyers consortium. What is the point of pitching? But Stefan explained it perfectly, very clear, because they need to know what is already available, what they can buy or directly without the need for R&D, or whether there's a little bit of R&D needed, and then we will decide on which trajectory to take with regard to those different solutions. So that's, yeah, Stefan answered that. Thank you, Mark.
And colleagues, there's a few more chat messages for Beatrice, who arrived a bit late. Rest assured that this webinar is being recorded, so you'll be able to download it and listen. Dan asks a question about TRL, and mostly low TRL. I think bear in mind the TRL exit, if you want to be ready for selling a service or ready for someone to buy it, then you don't want to be in the 1, 2, 3s. Otherwise, the PCP won't enable you to get it to the market. So I think we're looking at TRLs of 5, 6 moving. But Stephen, you can.
I'm sorry, Mark. That also has to do with the time frame of what service providers and technology providers can do. So we're now in what is it, Q3, almost Q4 2023. As it has been explained, by Oana and also by Marwan, is that the foreseen call from the European Commission is going to end in Q1 2024. That means that it is reasonable to expect that the opening of the PCP calls will be around Q3 2024 as a time frame. And I can imagine that if you're now already working at TRL 5 or 6, is that in 1 year time, perhaps you're already at TRL 7 or 8, or perhaps even already going to TRL 9. So I think it is important, and it's for every technology vendor and technology solution provider to see what's on this roadmap, where we are now, because for the PCP, when we start the PCP and what we implement with the PCP is really targeting the lower TRLs, going typically somewhere between TRL 5 and 8. But if you're already having something now at TRL 5 or 6, perhaps you already have the ability to sell the services to customers at TRL 9 by the end of next year. So I think it's important for each and every technology vendor and solution provider to understand how the development roadmap is. And I don't know, I can imagine that's different for everyone. But for the moment that we start and we do the procurement of the PCP, then we're targeting TRL 5, we start with TRL 5 up into TRL 8.
Thank you, Stephen. Joanna.
Thank you. Yes, and I wanted to also mention the fact that even if for the upcoming call we are targeting TRL between 3 to 6, we are also open for the pitching for TRLs above 6 or below 6 because below 3, because in the public authority community that we're having, we have public authorities which might not be interested in joining the consortiums for the upcoming call, but they are interested in learning more about climate services and hearing more about potential solutions of their needs without going through the PCPs. So that's why we have in the template, if we go to the next slides, Marwan. We have proposed to give to have a short company overview, but as well in the next slide we also asked for the existing already Earth observation climate services, which didn't have like a specific criteria for the TRL, because as we mentioned like earlier, the idea is to also have as observers public authorities, but not only the ones that we are working with for preparing them for the upcoming calls. So that's why in the next slide we suggested to have more details regarding the R&D efforts that you guys are currently doing in order to assess if there could be solutions that could be involved in potential PCPs, and not only the ones that are already ready for for commercializing it. And with this saying, if we go to the last slide, yes, we received some of the pitches from you. I know that I still have to give some feedback to some of you, but as general ideas from what we received so far, please try not to use the acronyms without explaining them, because we are taking into consideration the fact that not everyone that from the audience will have the same background as we are having. At the same time, not to be too technical in the description of the company or service because of the same reason. Please try to connect the service with the challenges presented. It can be multiple, but please try to mention to which challenge is connected, because the e-pitching sessions are not divided on the different 4 challenges. They're all together. Of course, try to check the grammar and the wording to be corrected. But also, please try to use the template provided, and also to respect the time allocated for each slide, because we will be a bit time constrained from this point of view. And if you still have pitches that you would like to receive feedback on, you can send them today, tomorrow, is no problem. We are still receiving them. And if you have more questions, let's go with it.
Well, we do have more questions, because the chat is keeping my eyes busy. Anne asks, can we participate to the PCP call without doing a pitch next week? Of course you
absolutely.
can. And then, as previous people have already said, and the PCP call, you can't actually be part of the consortium. Your job in this process is to enlighten potential buyers, as my colleagues have said, of existing technology solutions that say, come and buy it now. You don't need to go to a PCP, come and buy it now. That's the, or guiding them in the direction of your research and development actions, as the pipeline of research that you're doing would enable them to answer their questions. So that's, I think, your question answered. And Gedas says, can we, or would it be possible for us to do some teaming of service providers with interested public entities to test pilots prior to the PCP call? Unlikely, but you can, this is part of the process. We're putting you in contact next week through the e-pitching, and there may be other opportunities with other funding mechanisms. We can certainly facilitate ongoing discussions, because we have this tight deadline for launching and supporting the Commission in their call, but there are other networking activities. But we wouldn't be able to intervene on any pilot cases that you might have in mind with a potential buyer. Andalusia, thanks for answering what the PIN stands for, prior information notice, if anyone wants to say.
Sorry,
Joanna,
yes? Can I interfere?
You can intervene.
Thank you. Intervene, sorry. Yes, Gedas, regarding this part, it's at least from the process that I understood from our colleagues from Corvers, in the PCP, you are not supposed to team up with the public authorities, because in the PCP you are supposed to follow some rules, like there's an open call, and if you are being selected, you can go with it. Is that correct, Ana Lucia? Just to clarify, or Stefan, just to clarify for everyone, it's not like the public buyer is picking you up, like I want to work with this company, and after that you are teaming up with them. It's like a selection process, right?
Yeah, the pre-commercial procurement is a procurement approach, and request for tenders is published on the tender platform, and the request for tender includes the different rules for the tendering, the selection criteria, the award criteria that companies need to have for in order to present their proposals. So they need to present a proposal based on what the tender documents have indicated, that is technical functional specifications, and comply with these criteria. So there will be also in the description on this, what I mentioned, the selection criteria, the award criteria, and the way in which the evaluation is going to be carried out, is scoring the proposals based on quality, based on innovativeness, and other criteria, and also based as well on the proposal on price. So these tender documents will explain, they will have the rules and the conditions for the presentation of these tenders. But it's a tendering process in which the companies participate and compete to develop their solutions. I don't know if Stefan would like to add anything.
No, I think that's fine, Anna. I think that the pilot test as such prior to the PCP call, because that was more or less a question, is not recommended at all. Because it could lead in circumstances to even to exclusion to participate in the PCP call itself. So you do not want to intervene with that. The good thing about the PCP itself is that it is a competitive approach. It also gives you the possibility to do, as part of the PCP phases, to do prototyping and to do testing during the execution of the process as such. But that's part of the contract, a framework agreement that is going to be concluded between the contracting authorities on one side and on the side with the technology vendors or solution providers. Thank you.
Thank you both. Marwan, the question about where the replay will be made available, maybe you can put the link in to the chat to respond for people.
We'll upload it on the website.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Federica said, just to be clear, providers cannot participate to the Horizon call, but can participate to the TED, which is the next step. I think the answer is yes. Just give you some numbers. The Commission has put this call out with 19 million. They don't specify to the public buyers how much will be dedicated to the funding of research and development. But you can imagine that between 2 and 3 million will be relevant for the consortium to manage the process, to organize the process. So that means between 16 and 17 million will be funding what Anna Lucia and Stephen have just said there, funding the R&D, funding the pilot, funding the whatever activities they want to do. So there's quite a large chunk. And the idea in this process of a PCP that, the process of engaging with you as a provider would be probably about 2 years, is that they start with a long list and it becomes a shorter list. And as you get closer to the market, you're smaller. So you can imagine this process starting with, 15 to 20 companies being selected. And the end, there's just 2 or 3 companies that are still in the race, developing the service funding through PCP. So you have to imagine this process. So not only are you getting fewer, which is good, you're getting more investment on the closer to market, and you're also getting closer to the ability to sell the product at the end to these buyers, but also other buyers. And I think Stephen made a very important point. The challenges that we've been looking to develop with the Protect buyers community are challenges that have a European dimension. It's not just one buyer in Holland saying, I'd like to buy a new pump for and our groups of buyers are categorized with an interregional and pan-European context. So that's very interesting for you, because it's not just a selling to one company, one buyer in one country, you're selling to a European market. I think that is another element of why the Commission has launched in what they regard currently as the biggest PCP that they've ever done. So it's an interesting opportunity from both the buyer perspective and the potential for the technology providers that you are. So we're coming towards the end of our session, but happy to take any more questions, and I'm going to get two colleagues who are going to give you some further insights. Joanna and then Stephen.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention, just so you know, the public authorities in the PCPs are supposed to be only from the European Union. So please keep that in mind as well. And that's all from my side. I will let Stefan.
Thank you, Anna. Of course, it can also be the EU associated countries, but that's just a minor detail. But I think what is important is that we have extremely high expectations of the European R&D. I think that this call is so important, not only for the topic that we're trying to tackle, but also to really give a boost to European R&D and to give also a possibility to European companies and service providers to speed up their developments. And that's also what Mark already also said, is that this is by far one of the largest supported projects from the EU in this field on the PCP scheme, and that's also why it's so important. And of course, the topic is of great importance for all of us, for complete society. But for you, it is really going to help you, and we have seen it also in other sectors that is really helping EU companies. Thank you.
Good. Well, if there are no other, there's another question. Saba, you want to?
Yeah, Csaba. Hi, thank you. I would have the question, if EIC Seal of Excellence startups who have the EIC Seal of Excellence, does the Seal of Excellence have some impact on the application?
There is no formal extra ranking points for when an evaluation is done, but we know with other contacts in the project, we are working with the EIC accelerated, the different companies that have been supported, and so yes, they are a target, and yes, I think a buyer would take that into account, but it's more a subjective element. It's not going to get you an extra point, but it's clearly a good sign for a potential buyer that is working with a European leader on innovation. Stephen.
Thank you.
Stefan, did you want to say?
Yes, if in addition to that, so the IEC beneficiaries are extremely welcome to participate, but it's not exclusively for the IEC beneficiaries. That goes without saying. But on the other hand, we also have high expectations from the EIC beneficiaries because they're already part of the European game, so to say. So there will be no priority there or favoring, but we have high expectations.
Please let's separate between EIC beneficiaries and EIC Seal of Excellence. The EIC Seal of Excellence are those who reach the pitch level but are not beneficiaries.
Yeah. Indeed, but both are welcome and encouraged. Okay. Well, if there are no other...
Yeah, I have just the last remind to say.
Yes, Marwan.
Okay, so just logistics, as Joanna mentioned, that will be we will send you the exact time where you will present and pitch your solution on Friday. So just to mention, if you have someone else from your organization would like to join you, just please provide us with the name, so to be sure we include you for the private session. So that's the only.
And if there are any logistic issues, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Just one small thing. When you guys are gonna join the meeting for the e-pitching sessions, please, besides your name, also add the company's name, so we will know in which order, because otherwise it will be just more time consuming for us to take a look who's from which company and everything like that. Thank you so much.
Okay. I don't want to stop you asking questions, because that's our job was to help you prepare, but if it's like in an auction, once, twice, 3 times, you've got our contact details, so don't hesitate to reach out. As Joanna has said, the pitching, running method and timing will be sent out tomorrow. And we look forward to your participation. And this is just the beginning. As you see, there are plenty of other opportunities for you to join in next steps up until the open market consultation. And check out also the info day when we have the exact time, but I'm pretty sure it's the 28th of September. But just sign up to Protect and you'll find all the relevant information. Okay, well, thank you very much. You'll see the links to the website is in the chat. Appreciate your time and contribution, because I think the buyers will benefit from your insights, and look forward to the sessions next week. Bon appetit. It's lunchtime in most of our places, so thanks again.
Thank you.
Good luck to
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye
Have a
bye.
Thanks a
nice
lot.
day. Bye.
You too.